I'm going to start this video by showing you my palette and the colours that I've used in this painting. Black, cerulean blue deep, white, cadmium yellow, yellow ochre, burnt sienna and cadmium orange. So I'm just going to use those colours in this painting. So here I am, I've mixed up a sort of a light blue and I'm just spreading that around with my colour shaper. Just getting various transparencies and thicknesses with just that one colour. And I'm coming in with a ochre colour, so that's sort of opposite. The first one was cool, this one's warm, and I'm creating just a couple of shapes using that one colour, and once again using that transparency and varying the thickness. Now I'm coming in with a marker, and I'm sort of looking for shapes within the paint that I've put down, and I'm sort of outlining them. Now this is something I usually don't do. I like to have my lines usually sitting above and being separate, like I'm sort of doing now with the marker, but I thought I would try this out. So in some cases I'm sort of going around shapes and outlining them, and in others I'm keeping the line quite free and going over the top of shapes. I've changed the colour of the marker now, and I'm using a warm one, so I've gone from cool to warm, and this one I'm definitely using over the top of the shapes, sort of regardless of what's underneath. And I'm just sort of distributing it around the composition. Got some dots in there, trying to get the paint to come through. And now I've changed and I'm getting a different line with a pencil. So this is sort of a finer, less visible line, and working it over the top. So all these lines help to build the different effects that you can get on your abstract painting. Now I've come in with a marker, and definitely this one is a much more visible, heavier line. And I'm creating sort of similar shapes here, sort of a tree type shape. And now I'm using that same marker, and I'm thinking of shapes that I've seen in sort of my little hieroglyphics when I looked in museums in my recent trip to Italy, and so that's what inspired those little shapes. So now I've mixed together a nice sort of grey-brown with the burnt sienna and the blue and a bit of white probably in here, and I'm bringing a big shape in over the top, and I want to sort of emphasize the width of this painting, so I'm making this shape have a couple of friends in the same color, right at the left and then on the right of this composition, and I'm just creating some interesting different sort of shapes with that same color, varying the size of the shape. So I've got a big one, a medium sized one and a small one. Now with a sort of a bluey, sort of a duck egg blue color, I'm coming in with some line and paint over the top of the brown, and I know that those two colours work really nicely together. The warmth of the brown and that coolness of the blue, the grey blue, is a beautiful combination. Okay, spreading that colour around on the right hand side, I'm bringing that through, making another big shape, and just sort of spreading that through with more similar sorts of lines and curves and seeing where we go with it. Now I've mixed up an orange and I'm distributing that around, and I've mixed up this colour because I had that colour in the marker that I had used underneath. So I want to bring this colour, make it more dominant, especially on this left hand side. So I'm creating areas on the left hand side with quite a lot of orange, and then just a little bit on the right hand side here. And I've put the paint on reasonably thickly, but here I've added some water so that it's a more transparent application of that same colour. And with the comb I'm just sort of disrupting the surface where I can, where there are bits that aren't quite dry. Bringing in a light shape over here on the right hand side now, and bringing in my marker to bring some light line through, and taking that right over from the left, right over to the, or from the right over to the left of the painting. And now I've mixed up a sort of a grey-brown, much more desaturated than the brown, but it sits within that dark area, so I keep my darks all together in the one place. And I'm mixing this over here to create contrasts and detail, and putting it up the top there as well. That's a really desaturated dark colour, so I'm thinking about my design when I do this, thinking about distributing my darks in this composition, keeping that really broad width of the dark shape that's sort of linking this through now with this dark grey colour. Okay, picking up a orangey marker, the same one that I used before, I'm bringing some detail into this dark area in the middle here, and linking up the light areas, making them a little bit bigger, moving them around, seeing what sort of effects I get, transparency, contrasted with opacity, and then blocking out that bit of light there. I want to keep the bottom quite light, so sort of creating that shape there, bringing this sort of mid-value through here, the sort of grey blues and greens, and bringing in light areas, making this light area a bit bigger on the right hand side over here as well. Adding detail and bringing a bit of warmth into this area here. And now I'm adding a little bit of detail on here. I want to start sort of making some of these things look like they could be something, so that a little story might be told here. But it's up to the viewer to interpret the story, so that they can go on a little journey in this funny place that I'm creating on this page. More details here on the right, and now I want to smudge them so that they're not as sort of visible and easy to define. They're less defined. Just bringing some warmth through there with glazes and linking up line down here with that pen. Just defining edges now and bringing through similar shapes to create sort of an area where there are similarities. A bit more detail up there. And now I'm thinking about how to make this have some more differences. So I'm adding in different types of shapes and defining areas, and just having a curve there next to a line, making this a little bit lighter over here, the light area, extending that down, linking those warm colours through. And there we are, there's my funny little wonderland. Wouldn't you like to go to a landscape like that and explore that sort of area? Wouldn't that be fun?